Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with a video talking all about autumn makeup. I thought I would go through my top ways to transition kind of summer makeup into autumn or fall makeup. But before we jump into that, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just go through and jump into the tips. So the first tip is regarding your lips, and I thought I would demonstrate that on camera because my first tip is to basically keep your eye makeup the same but then adding a bold lip. And I do have a few examples of different lipsticks that I will show you in a second, but first I thought I would just kind of show you what this makeup look like if I add a bold lip. So there you go, not the best application, but it will do. So you can see how much that transformed my look just kind of with a simple change like a lipstick. And with this makeup today I did kind of keep it a bit more simple, but I still wanted to do it slightly more smoky because I do love pairing a deeper lip with a more kind of bronzy or smoky eye in fall and winter. But if you are uncomfortable with doing that, it's completely fine just doing a bold lip and like eyeliner or just mascara, and that looks amazing as well. So that is my number one tip, is to add a deep lip, and I will go through some of the options that I have here today. So the one I did apply on my lips is from Colourpop, and this is in the shade Chateau, and it's one of their Matte X formulas. This is a really nice kind of deep maroon lipstick, and you can obviously see it on my lips, but that is a swatch of it right there as well. And I feel like this is like the quintessential dark vampy lips that everyone is kind of familiar with in autumn, but this is one of my top choices. Another one from Colourpop, which is also from the Matte X range, is the shade Goldie. This isn't as deep, it's more of a kind of reddy brown shade. I do love this shade as well, and I do wear this if I want to go for a slightly less vampy lip but I still want something vampy. And there you have Goldie swatched out of my hand. It's another great option. So I have two options from MAC, so let's just go with those two as well. The first one is called Chili, and it's actually quite similar to the previous one. It's just a slightly more orange. This is another one I would recommend if you are a bit more intimidated by lipsticks like this. So you can see it right there. It's slightly lighter and slightly more orange, but I do love this one as well. The next lipstick is very different from the other ones, and that is Heroin from MAC, and it's more of a purpley tone, as you can see there, but I feel like this is a great option if you want something kind of more cool toned, or if you don't like these kind of vampy reds on you. This is a really cool vampy color for autumn or winter, and I definitely do recommend this one, but it is a bit more out there in my opinion than, for example, a lip like this. I have two more lipsticks to go. Let's go with this one next, which is one of the L'Oreal Balmain lipsticks in the shade Fever. This is a lipstick that I would say is a bit more kind of wearable. It's this kind of burnt orangey color. I don't really have anything else like it in my collection, so I do think it's a really nice option, and it's very autumnal. As you can see, it's a really nice warm orange shade, but I do love this a lot this time of year. And then the final lipstick I have is another cool tone one, and this is one of the lip lingeries from NYX in the shade Embellishment. And as you can see on my hand right there, it is slightly lighter than some of the other ones again, but it's more of a cool tone lipstick if that's what you prefer. But this kind of mauvey, really cool toned, almost grey shade I feel like is perfect for this time of year, and is another one that I would recommend. The second tips that I have to transition my makeup into autumn and fall is to basically keep your makeup quite similar to what it used to be in summer, but just smoke out the lash line, so especially the lower lash line but also the top lash line. I love doing this in autumn. It just gives more depth to the eyes, and I feel like it just creates that kind of sultriness that I kind of connect with fall and winter. So that is one tip that I like doing a lot, and I feel like you can do that with any type of look. So if you still want to keep those warm tones in, just adding this tip is a really good way to make it a bit more sultry for autumn autumn. So while we're on eyeshadows, let me just talk about the two kind of tips I have for eyeshadows and what type of eyeshadows I go for in autumn. And let's start out with warm tones. If you would go for warm toned looks, I would go for kind of more red, burgundy and more muted oranges rather than kind of bright coral oranges that I wear a lot in summer. So as you can see today, for example, I do have an orange in my crease, but I did mute it down and I did pair it with more of a burgundy out the corner, and that's kind of one way that I like incorporating these warm tones into fall and winter and still making it more kind of sultry again than what I usually wear in summer. So that's how I would change my warm tone eyeshadow looks. And then when it comes to my cool tone looks, I feel like these are easier to transition because again they are more sultry. But how I would kind of change it is I would go for more cool browns or more toned down purples and things like that, rather than like pastel shades or like brighter shades like lilacs or mints, because those are some more kind of cool toned eyeshadows that I like wearing in spring and summer because they are still very vibrant. But I would switch those out to more, like I said, muted purples or cool tones or even taupes and things like that. So that is kind of how I would change up my eyeshadows, and I'm also going to go through some of my top eyeshadow palettes for autumn as well. So these are in no particular order. I'm just going to show you some good examples for what I feel like is good for autumn and winter. So in here, this is the Saharan 2 from Juvia's Place. In here you have a lot of the tones that I love for autumn. So you can see you have the burgundies, you have these kind of more warm, richer, more muted kind of browns and oranges. And then you do have two kind of more, I would say, summery colors, but I feel like if you pair them with some of the other shades in here, they would work really, really well for autumn. So this is my first pick as for an autumn palette. Next up we have another palette that has a lot of those kind of burgundy shades, and that is the Give It To Me Straight palette from Colourpop. Again, you can see this has a lot of yeah, just kind of cool tone burgundy shades with a few warm tone mixed into it. This isn't my favorite palette, but I feel like it is a perfect palette for this time of year, and I feel like I would reach for it in autumn more than any other time of the year. I have two more palettes from Colourpop, so let's just go through those two. The next one is the Through My Eyes palette, and this was in a collaboration with I Love Zara E. And this is probably my absolute favorite palette from Colourpop, and I feel like this is the best palette for autumn. You do have some brighter colors, but they're still kind of more mustardy. You have a bright orange, but if you pair them with like the burgundy shades again and all these kind of jewel tones, I feel like it's going to create really, really good autumn looks. So this palette is perfect, and I feel like something like this is what I would reach for personally in autumn. So I do think this is a really, really good palette, and overall, if you haven't tried this, I would definitely recommend picking this up if it's still available on Colourpop's website. I haven't been on their website in a while, and I know they have a tendency to discontinue palettes, so I am really sorry if it's not on there, but if it is, I would definitely snatch this up because it is my #1 palette from Colourpop. Then I have one more palette from Colourpop, and that is the I Think I Love You palette, and this is just looks like this. And the reason why I'm including this is because it has more kind of bronzy tones, more cool tone browns, and it is a bit more kind of smoky again. So this is a really good option if you want some more neutral tones, because I feel like the tones that are included in here are more autumn appropriate than, for example, spring. Next up we have one of my prized possessions in my collection, and that is my Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. Again, this is just a perfect palette for autumn. It was released last autumn as the, I think it was a Christmas edition palette, but it was released this time last year. And it has these kind of green tones, which I love as well for autumn. They're more cool toned. They have some more kind of muted oranges. It has some jewel tones again, and a bit of cool tones. So I feel like this is a perfect palette to transition between summer and autumn, because you can create more summery looks with these warm tones, but there is a lot of things to kind of ground it and make it more autumnal. So this is a great palette, and again, it is one that I would recommend a lot, but it is a bit more expensive. So if you are looking for something more on a budget, I would still recommend the Colourpop a lot, but this is one that if you have the budget for it, I definitely recommend it. Then I have two palettes from Anastasia, and it's these two right here. I could not mention the Modern Renaissance. This is a really old palette, but it's again one that I used to connect with Autumn because it has those burgundy kind of reddish shades, and again it has some more warm tones, but I feel like they are more muted and perfect for this time of year. I won't babble on about this too much because everyone has seen it before, but that is a really good option that I think a lot of people already have in their collections. The next one is the Sultry palette, and the reason why I'm including this is because it has those kind of cool tones that I was talking about, because it's the perfect palette to go for if you want those kind of cool toned eyeshadow looks, and also want to keep it autumnal. It has these kind of more weird, I think they're really placed in this palette, but it's Bloom and Birch because they're definitely more warm toned, but apart from that it is a very, very cool tone palette, and I think this is perfect for autumn as well. And there is a lot of shades in here that you can smoke it out with if you want to make more of a smoky look again for this time of year. So I have 2 more tips to go, and the next tip is to kind of focus in on wearing more blush and tone down the bronzer. Having a really bronzed look, in my opinion, is very summery. So what I do in autumn is I focus a bit more on doing a more blushy look rather than bronzy. Some of the blushes I have is a bit more bronzy or more kind of neutral tone, but I will go through some of my favorite ones to use as well. And I do use them for different reasons, but I do have 3 blushes from NARS because I have quite a few of them and I do really love this formula. The first one I have is Luster, which is a favorite of mine this time of year. As you can see, it's more of a kind of neutral brown toned blush. I will swatch all of these out as well for you so you can see them, but I love this because it's really easy to throw on, and I feel like this kind of bridges between a blush and a bronzer, so I feel like this is a good one to put in if you want to have like a more of a neutral cheek but you still want to kind of keep it autumnal. At least that's what I use this for. But this is one that I use a lot this time of year, and you can see it right there. It uses this kind of neutral orangey brown with a gold shimmer running through it, and it's absolutely stunning, and it goes with absolutely everything. The next blush is one that steps it up a bit. This is Taj Mahal. As you can see, this is just a burnt orange blush, and I think again this is perfect for this time of year. This color itself reminds me so much of autumn because it's kind of like autumn leaves, but this one is a bit more kind of tricky to work with. You can't really pair it with everything because it is a brighter color. But you can see it right there. It's more of a kind of muted orange with again a gold shift thrown through it, and I just think this is a perfect blush for autumn if you want to have more of a blush cheek rather than kind of focus on your eyes, because this is something that kind of gives your cheeks that kind of statement look, but still keeps it in the autumnal family. And then the last blush I have from NARS is the shade Tata Hari, and this one is very different from the ones I've showed you already. This is a very pink blush and it's more cool toned, and the reason why I'm including this is because another look that I love to do if I don't go for those kind of more neutral tone blushes is a really, really flushed look, and I use these kind of blushes for that. I have another one to show you in a second, but this is one that I love using because it is more of a kind of muted cool tone pink. I have a few more brighter pinks that I love using for spring, but this is a great option if you want that kind of flushed look in autumn and winter. So this is another option that I love. And then while we're on it, we can compare it to the other one that is quite similar, which is from Clinique, and this is one of their Chic Pops in the shade Plum Pop. This is a blush that I love basically all year around, and I love this formula as well. This is slightly brighter than the Matahari blush I used to show you, but you can see it right there. It's quite similar in the way that it's just one that's nice to apply to make your cheeks look really blushed. And yeah, it's just one that I love reaching for this time of year as well. Then the next blush I have to show you is actually one of my newest purchases, and that is the Nabla Skin Glazing powder in Independence. This is just a really, really nice neutral blush again. So these tones, like I mentioned before, are some that I love kind of using this time of year. This one is definitely more mauve toned than the first one I just showed you, and as you can see right there, it just has this nice sheen to it again. And this is also one that I feel like is good to kind of use more of as a bronzer slash blush, because it kind of doubles that with the tone. So this is another blush that I love so much, and I only used it a couple times since it is so new in my collection, but it's absolutely stunning, and I would definitely recommend you picking this up because it is a beautiful formula and this color is stunning and very versatile. So I only have one more tip to go, and that is basically just to add liquid liner or smoke out the outer corner a bit more. Obviously I'm not wearing liquid liner today, but I did try to smoke out the outer corner a bit more, and I used a burgundy purple to do that. And that is just another way that I love kind of making looks more autumnal. And I don't reach for liquid liner that often, but I feel like I reach for it way more in autumn and winter. So it's just one thing that I connect kind of with autumnal makeup, and that might be different from everyone because some people may use liquid liner on an everyday basis, but adding a liquid liner is just another way, in my opinion, to make the look more autumnal. So that, you guys, was all for this video. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've taken some inspiration from it. And also please let me know down below your favorite ways to transition your makeup from summer into autumn, because I'm very excited to kind of play with these tones again. I feel like this summer has been lasting absolutely for ages. That might be because of quarantine and this weird year that we had, but I'm again really excited to play with these more autumnal tones and incorporate a bit smokiness and more sultriness into my makeup. But that is it for today. If you did like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and otherwise I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys!